We saw that exchange, effectively a public rebuke for Recep Tayyip Erdogan on the part of Vladimir Putin, but also hints that perhaps Turkey has bought itself a little bit more time to secure its border.
Yeah, I think you can say that, but clearly the outcome of this summit was no clear indication that these three countries, Russia, Iran, and Turkey, have come up with a roadmap to resolve the critical situation in Idlib. In contrast, the outcome of this summit was a clear indication that these countries have serious differences and conflicts of interest, specifically when it comes to the situation on Idlib. On one side, you have Iran and Russia. They have seemingly a plan that they want to execute. On the other hand, you have Turkey that has a different plan. Of course, Idlib province in northwestern Syria. This is the last stronghold of the armed opposition groups in Syria. This is where they're making their last stand over the past couple of years, as the Syrian military, backed by Iran and Russia, have steadily taken back Syrian territory. They've pushed back the remaining opposition groups within Idlib, who are now surrounded, and seemingly the Syrian military, backed by Iran and Russia, are poised to move in and get rid of these remaining opposition groups. However, within those opposition groups are ones that are supported and funded by the Turkish government. Turkey has a lot of interests in this region. They have 12 observation points. It's the buffer between Syria and their border, and certainly they don't want an offensive that would lead to more refugees coming in to Turkey. 3 million people estimated in Idlib province, many of them civilians. So it's a very tricky situation. These three countries today are advertising themselves as an alliance to the international community, but certainly this summit made it clear that they still have some serious differences to work out.
Yeah, Reza, we're going to listen to the host of that summit, Hassan Rouhani, the president of Iran, who hinted that, well, today it's Idlib, tomorrow perhaps the U.S.-backed Kurdish-held areas of northeast Syria.
The illegal presence and intervention by America in Syria, which has led to the continuation of instability, must immediately end.
Reza, we're getting the sense that perhaps we could have a head-on confrontation between Iranian and U.S. forces, what with those 2,000 U.S. military advisors in northeast Syria.
Yeah, I think that's something that this alliance today is going to do everything it can to avoid. Remember, when it comes to Russia, Turkey, and Iran, these are three countries that share one thing in common. They're under pressure from Washington. The Trump administration, each is being sanctioned by Washington. Despite their differences, they want to keep their alliance intact. They want to show unity, and they certainly don't want to escalate the conflict with Washington, and they want to present Syria as a stabilizing situation. But when you mention things like that, certainly there's the potential, with all the conflicting and intersecting interests, with all the remaining armed groups there, including ones from the U.S., backed by the U.S., backed by Turkey, backed by Iran and Russia, it certainly makes for a complicated situation and a potential for clashes, even though many hope this war is coming to an end.
Many hope this war is coming to an end. Reza, it bears reminding to our viewers that Turkey is a NATO ally. With the differences that we saw playing out where you are in Tehran, have we reached the limits of that new partnership, if you will, between Turkey, Russia, and Iran? Or are there ways for them to reach some kind of a deal?
I think they're doing their best to reach some kind of deal. Again, this is an alliance that wants to present itself as united and intact because of each of their relations with Washington. So this is a test for them. Can they resolve their differences in Syria and Idlib? Can they avoid bloodshed? Can they avoid a backlash from the international community, from the UN that's closely watching? Certainly a defining moment for each of their countries and their alliance. It depends what they do in the coming days and weeks.
Reza Sayeh reporting from Tehran for